now, Safari. Safari is now telling everybody on iOS, iPad OS, on an iPad, that it is actually a Mac. And the reason for that is a lot of web developers, and we won't point our finger at Google, but I just did. They present a mobile version no matter what. Since they do not differentiate between a tablet and a phone, their websites do not either. So whenever you go to Google, you get a mobile version. So now to stop that, and other people, the default by your iPad is to tell it, I'm a computer, give me a desktop version. So now Gmail works when you go to the website. It didn't used to, because it made it so limited it was impractical. So that's a big change. Now with that change, there are some differences of appearance. So let's go into a website and CNN.com. It now is different up here. It used to show the 3 lines if there was a, if you could do a reader, turn it into a reader, but that doesn't do that anymore. Now you get the lowercase a, uppercase A button. And when you press on that, it gives you options. The options are you can change the font size. So if I keep tapping this, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Got to get rid of the ad. So those are bigger. I can then make it smaller, smaller, smaller. If it is available in reader view, this will be available. But it has to have text for reader view, and we'll get to reader view later today. You can hide the toolbar, which is this bar across the top. You can request the mobile site. And that simplifies it a lot. Which is, reader view is good on an iPhone, but not on an iPad. Let's go back to the... Now it used to be, you had the option of requesting a desktop version. So you have an iPad on iOS 12, and you held your finger down on that button, it gave you an option, request desktop view. That was a request. It was the option of the developer to give it to you or not, and Google did not give it to you. So on the old ones, 12 and earlier, you sometimes got a desktop version. Now you should always get a desktop version unless you come in and change this to mobile website, and then after it's changed and you look again, it'll give you option to go back to desktop. They also now have website settings. Let's go in there. Here, by website, not in total for everything, but by website, you can say, I want reader view, I want a desktop, I want mobile version, and you can allow camera, microphone, and location to be available to a specific website and denied to others. So if you go into Skype on the website, you want them to have the camera and you want them to have the microphone. If you go into Google Maps on a website, you have to give them location, because if you don't, what good is the map? You can see something, but you can't get directions to it. So these are now options for every website you go on to. And let me go in, show you my settings. Safari. And is it in here? Oh, I've lost it. Somewhere in here is individual websites and what they're allowed to do.
Maybe advanced.
Okay, here's request desktop website, and if I changed it to by individuals, it would show me which individual websites I allowed to do that. Yes?
This is only available from the iPad, not from the iPhone.
We are talking about iPad OS, yes. Now, some of these features are also available on an iPhone. You have to test, because they've made it a little confusing that it isn't exclusively iPad on everything. They put it out for the iPad, but some of these, like for example, the multi-touch where you double tap on a word, that's available on an iPhone, even though they're broadcasting this as a iPad feature. We'd like everything to be straightforward, but it isn't. Okay. So here on your slides, is where to go through to get the various features I was demonstrating. Okay, now, keyboard shortcuts. If you have a keyboard, whether it is Apple's, whether it's Logitech, whoever you've bought it from, a Bluetooth keyboard, or Apple's keyboards that they have you connect to the iPad, you can use keyboard shortcuts. And there's a big list of them. If you hold down on the command button on those keyboards, it'll show this screen, and then there's one more. And some of these are quite good. For example, if I want to see my reading list, I put the Control 2. If I want to edit bookmarks, Control Option B. If I want to close a tab, if I want to create a new tab, there's all kinds of shortcuts. So if you're a keyboard person, this is really cool. If you don't use keyboards a lot and you don't like keyboard shortcuts, you don't have to do these, but it's there. If you hold down the command button, you get these to tell you what's available. The zoom in, that's Command plus or Command minus to make it smaller. Those are very convenient. If you can't see that website very well, Command plus 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 will make it grow bigger. Otherwise, you've got to go up, press the A button, and then tell it to get bigger or get smaller. Okay, downloads. Now you were talking about it's more and more like a computer than it used to be. This is one way it is. There is a downloads folder, which they put in iCloud for you, but you can put it on your iPad instead. And when you want to download something, it goes to that folder. If you've ever wanted to get something for your computer, but you're on your iPad, it was very hard 2 weeks ago. Now you can tell it, I want to download it, it'll download to this, and then you can send it to your computer. And let's give an example. Here's a website, Explore California, and it's got tours and whatever. So let's go into Cycle California, learn more, and they say that there's a zip file that you can download. I'll press download, and you notice there's a download button up there. I press on that and it tells me how it's doing. This is very Mac-like if you do things from a Mac. Oh, this is much faster than at home.
If you're doing this on the phone,
Yes, it'll work on the phone too.
but the icon, what is it? I can't see.
Well, it's a download. It's got a down arrow.
Just a
This is
down
to look at it. Okay, it's done. I'm going to press on it, and it's going to take me to where he saved it. And the default is a downloads folder in your iCloud account. You can change that, but that's the default. Where would you change it? Settings. Settings. Okay, so here it is. It's a zip file. And in the past, you couldn't do anything with a zip file on your iPad, but if I press that, it is now given me a folder.
It's pretty cool.
And inside that are 3 files, including this 27 megabyte catalog. So I'll press on that, and then here's this gigantic catalog that they have. So this is a big change to an iPad, getting more and more like a regular computer. So that is downloads. The file app, which I went into, allows you to look everything on the cloud, everything on your iPad, and you can go and search for things. So I'm in the downloads folder, and still in downloads folder, and here's all the other files. I've got about 300 gig, I think, of files on iCloud. You don't have to go that far, but I do. And so I save everything. My Mac documents directory is in the cloud. So I can look at anything that's on my Mac that's in the in the documents directory. Okay, so that is files. Now the last thing I'm going to go over is it now has the ability to use a mouse. All right, now it's not perfectly like a mouse. They put it as an accessibility feature. And so the cursor isn't like a regular cursor, it's a big cursor, and it's mostly for people who have trouble holding still. They can two hands and go on a mouse better than they can touch. So that's what it is, but it works. So you can, it's any Bluetooth mouse. You can't use on a Mac, it's got the Magic Mouse that has the little keypad, the trackpad on top. That doesn't work because it uses Wi-Fi. It's not a Bluetooth device. Same thing with the trackpad on a Mac. That's a Wi-Fi device. And so those don't work. But I'm not going to go in and set something up because I don't have a Bluetooth mouse. But settings, accessibilities, touch, assistive touch, they don't want to bury this, do they? Devices and Bluetooth devices, and you tell it what mouse you have, and it will work. So that are all the changes that I know of, the big changes to the iPad OS. And so these are becoming much more like a computer and more of a productive device than before. Questions? Yes, Barbara?
Would you It will not work on the Wi-Fi mouse that I have at home. If I want to make that work, I need to buy a Bluetooth mouse.
The question was, does it only work with a Bluetooth mouse, not a Wi-Fi mouse? And the answer is yes. So the Magic Mouse that comes with your Mac computer, or you can buy it with your Mac computer, is Wi-Fi. This is not Wi-Fi, this is Bluetooth. So you need, but most of the mice that you go down to Fry's and buy are Bluetooth mice.
Can it be wireless?
So, what?
Can it be wireless?
No,
It has to have the cord plugged.
this is for Bluetooth mice. So it has limitations. This is not intended to convert your iPad into a mouse-led device. This is to add it, and it's probably their first stage. They'll probably make it work better as the years go on. But right now, it works kind of well, but it's Bluetooth mice only, and I don't own one. I have the Magic Mice, so I can't do it. All right, that is iPad OS. And any questions on that? Okay, yes, Dan.
Is there anything that's going to force me to buy an iPad that's on, or can I live with my iPhone?
If you can live with it, you can live with it. If you want to have it as a large screen where you can do more work on it, and you can watch TV on it instead of on a screen or whatever, but that's a personal choice. I do most of my stuff on the iPad, and this is my camera and on the road. I'll play solitaire on this, not on here.
Do you have a laptop at home?
Yes, I bought a laptop a couple years ago, first laptop I ever had, and I use it now less
Yes.
because these came out after that laptop.
I think that's going to be a thing of the past, laptops.
Depends on how much power you need. If you need to edit videos,
Yeah.
now you can now edit a video on here, but it's not the same as having a full-fledged video editor. So if you need power at this point, you have a laptop. But for the everyday word processing and email and this, these are getting to be more and more useful.
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Gotcha.
now for the regularly scheduled program, which is browsing the web via Safari. The basic layout has certain things showing and certain things not shown. And you can go into settings and change what shows up when you look at your browser on an iPhone or iPad. So if you like an uncluttered look, you can go and change it. If you want all the features available, you can change it. But our buddy settings is where you can do that. iPhone's got a much smaller screen, so the mobile version is simplified to allow you to be able to do that. The use of tabs on your browser. Does everyone know the term tabs? Okay. If you go to a regular browser or you go to a browser on an iPad, you can have all kinds of things that are either running or have been running, and you can tap back and forth and go see them. They stay around until you delete it. The iPad has tabs. The iPhone doesn't have room to do all this. And therefore, they use something called pages, which are a different way of viewing it, but the concept is identical. So those are tabs. And let's go to the browser, go sideways, and it's still showing tabs. Interesting. Go it this way. Oh, I just learned something. Remember I said that iPhones do not have tabs? They don't have tabs in portrait mode. They do have tabs in landscape. But if you're in portrait mode, you don't see those across the top. Instead, you go down here and it shows all the pages, which are really tabs. So they've blurred the line a little bit more between pages and tabs and pages. Now, as I said, on the iPad, the default is desktop. On the iPhone, it is mobile version. You can still request the desktop version, but it might get a little busy. Might be tough to see. On an older device, to request the desktop version, I can't show it to you here, but once I'm in, you see the refresh button? If you long press the refresh button, it will give you the chance to request the desktop version, or it depends on which one you're in, either desktop or mobile version. In the new one, you press the AA, and that's where the request is. Okay, the address and search bar are now the same. If you want to go to a website like CNN.com, you type CNN, and if it thinks you're going to a website, it tries to fill in the rest, and you'll notice that it'll say .com in blue, and that means if you press return, it'll assume you wanted what it's suggesting. If you continue to type, it'll change its mind. If you go to if you go to a website, you're typing CNN.com, that sends you a website. If you type CNN and backspace so it gets rid of the .com, it's not a website address, so therefore it's going to do a search for you. So you can then search for CNN, which the first answer will probably be CNN.com. But I know a lot of people that never type an address ever. They do everything through searching. Where they want to go to something, they'll start typing it and then scroll down, try to find where it is in their search. Some people don't do that at all, and they always type out the full thing, even though it's suggesting in blue what the website is. So we all come in different flavors, and we all deal with things differently. The default search engine is Google. I believe Google is paying Apple billions of dollars a year to have that as their default engine. Now, they don't do that out of the goodness of their heart, because when they do a search, they're keeping information from that search and they're using it to sell ads. So it's a strict business decision on Google's part to pay Apple a ton of money to get the default search engine. There are actually Google, Yahoo, Bing, or something called DuckDuckGo as the search engines that are available. And you can go into where? Settings. It's getting to, I'm asking that so much, I no longer have to pause. I get an answer. You can go into settings, Safari settings, and change your search engine. And I do use DuckDuckGo. The reason for that is privacy. DuckDuckGo says they do not save any information for the process of selling ads. They will show you ads while you're on it. So if you're typing in awnings, then apps for awnings for your house will probably show up somewhere because they have to make money. But they don't save it so that the next time you get on the computer or on your iPad, it comes back with an awnings ad. They don't do that. Google does, Bing does, Yahoo does, DuckDuckGo says they do not.
What would be the advantage of using Google over DuckDuckGo?
It is probably a little better. It's more comprehensive. They're the gold standard of search. Other people are constantly trying to keep up. But the price you pay for using it is they're keeping your information for ads. By the way, I heard yesterday, Google had a new releases came out. They had a program yesterday, and they have a new Nest that is combination of router and the Google Assistant, and it's all combined. And someone in Google says, but tell your guests in your house that what they say, what may be recorded. So that was scary. Okay. Now, you can search with some additional clues. For example, if you want to look in Wikipedia, instead of typing Wikipedia, going into Wikipedia and then typing your search, you can go into the search and say wiki baby's breath. And didn't quite, but so you see now that everything at the top is in Wiki. So it takes in Wikipedia. So that's a way you can get somewhere faster. So if you wanted to look up Trump and CNN, you would type CNN Trump. If you wanted to look them up in Fox, depending on your political thoughts, you might type in Fox space Trump, and you'll get completely different answers. Okay, so that's a shortcut you can use. All right, when you're in the browser, you can scroll down. On an iPad, when you scroll down, your fingers are going up. You're going down. The page is going up. And to return to the top of the page, you tap the top of the screen twice. So let's go back into this one. I'm going to the bottom. You'll notice on the top of the screen, the search bar and everything disappeared, but I'll tap there once. Oh, and it went to the top. Ah, it's a behavior change. Oh, it bounced me into the Wikipedia app. Let's go into Safari, and we'll look up CNN Trump. And we'll just pick anyone, and I'll scroll way to the bottom. I tap the top of the screen, and I get the address bar back. I tap above that one more time, and I go to the top of the screen. So no matter how far down you are, to get to the top, tap twice on the top of the screen, and it gets you to the top. To make a column fit the screen, let me go over into a smaller device. The U.S. and Turkey agree to a ceasefire in Syria. Interesting.
Well, he's already got what he wants.
Okay. It's already done it. Well, I'm not finding one that isn't fit correctly. But if you double tap, it'll fit the screen. And you double tap again, and it goes to a regular page. iOS 13 seems to have a better arrangement than before. But remember the double tap to make the column fit and to return to a regular page. All right, now for the confusing part. Background versus tabs. I talked about tabs briefly, but I didn't get very far. When you're on a website, and let's say you're in a tab right now, and you do another search or you do another link from that site, it adds the page inside the same tab, but there's a background of pages that you've been through. And it can go on for a long, long time. And so that's in the background. And if you hit the back arrow key, it goes back to where it was. Now I could go forward and backwards. Okay, now, if I want to no, okay. I'm trying to find a link. Here's a link. If I hold down on it, it offers me the ability to open in a new tab or a new page. But if I had just tapped it, it stays in the same tab, and I would do a back arrow, it goes and finds it. But if I hold down on it and give it in a new tab, and now they look as pages, let's look as tabs, so you can see they're next to each other. All right, so it depends on how you like to search for things, whether you stay inside the same tab or you want a new tab. Tabs can grow on you. If I hold down, this is the button to go look to see all the various tabs. Well, you can see I've got a ton of them. If I hold down on it, it allows me to close this tab, create a new tab, or close all 382 tabs on this device, on that. So I will close all that. Yes, close all that. And now it wants me, do I want to do it? No, I'm just saying don't close automatically. Now all those tabs are gone. And the plus allows me to go into a new tab. So that's tabs, and pages is just this vertically, but it's the same thing. And the only two I have open now are the two that after I cleared the tabs. Yes?
Don't all these open tabs take a lot of space on?
They take some space. She asked, don't they take a lot of space, all these tabs? Yes, they'll slow you down a little bit, but they're not huge. And these devices are pretty robust. But you get too many and you can't find anything. 382, good luck finding anything in 382. I'd be scrolling forever. I'm just too lazy to clear it. And I just did. Doesn't matter whether you're on an iPhone or iPad, the plus adds a new tab. And the double square here allows you to go and find them. To delete a tab, you go in here and just press the X, add a tab, I'll press the, and now you have two tabs, one with something in it, one with none. To get rid of one, you can also, I thought you could. Well, I guess the X is what works. Okay, now reader mode. Reader mode is very nice because it gets rid of junk. Okay, this sideways, it's got a lot of stuff in it. It's got ads in it. It's hard to see everything. But if I go press the double A, and this does not allow reader mode. I don't, oh, let's go into a, okay, if there's not a lot of typing in there as an article, it won't allow you to do reader mode. So let's go to the top, press that. I'm going to show reader mode, and then it gets rid of all the stuff except for the article. And that's awfully convenient. That is easier to read than
It gets rid of the ads.
hide reader mode. Now it's got other stuff as well. Ads, not quite as clean. I really like reader mode. And you can set reader mode by website if you want. Website settings, use reader automatically. We'll run it whenever it goes into the mobile version of CNN. So if I turn that on, and we'll CNN, and
From settings.
okay, do you see it brought up the site, brought up the page, and then switched it to reader mode. So you can tell it in a specific website now, I want reader mode. You could not do that with iOS 12, you can with 13. Okay, for those on an older version of iOS, which right now is probably most of you,
Is it safe now to click on the new version?
I think it's getting pretty close to safe with the release day before yesterday. Okay, to go into reader mode on the old one, there's the 3.5 lines. 3.5? 3.5. And then,
What sites is that bar on?
I'm sorry, say again?
Is that only, what websites is that bar on?
It doesn't matter what website you're on. Reader mode is for any website that has an article.
Any website, okay.
That has an article. If it's nothing but links and pictures, you won't have reader mode available. I look like I have two of the same picture. Okay, I've gone into reader mode, and now all the other junk is gone, and this is now dark. And to get out of it, you just press it again, and it goes back to the regular mode. You can also, when you're in reader mode, press that button, and now you can change the font, the color, the background, however you prefer. For example, at night, you may want a black background and white lettering. At daytime, you probably want it white. Bookmarks. Bookmarks are where you can save a web page for future access. And you can create folders that you want. You can keep bookmarks wherever you want in what folder that makes sense to you. For example, if you're going to go to Tahiti, you may create a bookmark folder called Tahiti, and every website that you find that might be of interest, you can save a bookmark into the Tahiti folder. Favorites is a different animal. Favorites has two additional features. One is all the favorites show on the top. Starting for the first one that's on the top of your list and going out to as far as you want to go. So I can say, okay, I want to see, there's the OLLI website that's been published, but it isn't viewable yet to the general public. So if I make a change to a website, I can see it here without you seeing it. So if I made a mistake, I can tell. If I want to create a new tab, that's the plus, right? These are my favorites. So when you create a new tab, you can go right to what you commonly want to use. Those are your favorite websites. So if you always go to the bank, or you always go to CNN, or you always go to wherever it is, save them in your favorites. And when you go into, surprisingly, settings, where is it? Safari, and favorites, there's all my list, and I can edit them and reorder them. So I can move what is it doing? Favorites. I want to reorder the favorites. Well, actually, I could do that straight from, to see your bookmarks is over here. And I'll go into favorites, and then I can edit them. And now, anytime you get the 3 lines, you can drag it up and down, and the minus gets rid of them. Or you can go in and change the description or the location or whatever. So if I want to move zoom down, I can. Okay, reading list. Reading list is a bucket that you throw websites in, web pages in, when you want to get back to it later. And it's just kept in a bin, 2 bins. Not read yet, read. So if I have a website that I want to see, and the blob, That's interesting. And I want to see this later. I can share it. And share it to the reading list. The one with Harry Potter glasses?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Now that isn't a real bookmark. All that is when I go into I have three categories: bookmarks, reading list, and my history. So if I go into the reading list, there's the blob. So if you're in the airport and you're looking up things and you've got your 3-hour wait because TSA line was empty and you got there 3 hours ahead of time, you can save things to the reading list, and that saves the whole page onto your computer, your iPad, your iPhone. When you go on the plane, that page is fully there, even though you don't have connection to anything. You're in airplane mode. When I read it, now you see it disappeared from this list, because this list is what I have not read, but if I press show all, it goes back. If I just show the unread, I've already read it. So they're still there, they just have a tag that says you've read it, you haven't read it.
Does it make a deep copy of the page?
They make a complete copy of the page when they put it in the reading list.
So any links that it goes to?
Won't work.
Second pages?
Won't work. You have to go through all the links and save those to a reading list as well. Because you won't go to CNN, press to put it in your reading list, and it's not going to go and take the entire CNN website and download it to your device. So the links don't work. If you have connection to the internet, they do work. And the last one over here is your history. So you can go and find things. Gee, yesterday I was looking at, and now I can't find it. You can go into history and scroll down. And when you press the clear button on the bottom, it asks you, clear the last hour, today and yesterday, and everything. So your choices. If you've got so much stuff in there you just want to get rid of it, you can just clear it all the time. So I'm going to clear just the last hour, and so not much disappeared, but Safari will keep track of passwords and accounts, password for accounts. This is your choice, depends on how funny you feel about saving these things, even though they're encrypted, but Apple has these. So there's a file system called Keychain that will hold on to these if you tell your browser that you want to save the username and password. If you use Keychain, you can then use a different device to get into the same website as you did. So if I go in on my iPad, I go in, create an account with this vendor that I'm thinking of buying something from, and they make you create an account. If you save it in Keychain, I now go to my phone and start to put it in. It'll suggest, oh, for this website I've got a username and password, want to use it? You say yes, and it will work. So this is a matter of convenience versus absolute security. It's encrypted, it's unlikely, but if you feel funny about it, don't use it. So it's your choice. But also in settings is your search engine choice. So you can choose Bing, Google, Yahoo, or DuckDuckGo. Cookies. In there you can block a cookie. A cookie is a file that that website saves on your device so that the next time you go there, it can help you get in better or help them better. For example, if you go to your bank and you go into the bank and you put in all the passwords, it wants to verify who you are, you go through all that, and then you it saves a cookie, and you can tell it you're going to use this device again. And so it saves something, so the next time you go in, you don't have to go through all those steps again. You just have to put in a password, which you may have saved in Keychain. So it makes things more convenient to get into the bank. And when you are using somebody else's computer to go into the bank and it wants you to you want to save information about it, you say no. And you don't want that cookie to stay and leave traces of you, because your bank, you want only you to get into it. So there are cookies out there. You can block them, but when you block them, some sites say no, you cannot get into our site unless you accept a cookie. And your bank is probably going to be one of those that does that. When you go into, you ready to get scared about this? Settings. And I'm going to go into passwords and accounts. And websites and app passwords. It wants me to do Touch ID to save permission. And these are all the things that I've saved. This is basically my keychain. So whenever I go into a certain site, Safari can help me get in. But it only has it when you tell it to save the information for this time you've accessed that website. Put in your username and password. Let me go into something I don't care about. Okay, here's something that's dead. In here is the username and the password, which you can't read. It will not project it. That's interesting. Well, that's nice. That's a security feature. But there is a password in here. I can see it here, but it won't project. So now I'm not as upset about displaying my passwords as I was. I think this is a new change for iOS 13. I used to have to be very careful about this. So that is the keychain. But you can see how many I have in here. You can tell Safari to keep your name and address and autofill when you come to, you're going to Amazon and you want to put in your shipping address, or your, shipping address. And you start to type it and it goes, ooh, can I fill it in for you? Because you told it yes, that you want to save these, and it will fill it in for you. If you don't like that, in settings, tell them not to. Don't autofill.
Can you do that per website, or is that for everything?
That is for everything, but you choose every time whether you're going to have it filled.
I see. Okay.
You have to press the button to fill it. It will not fill it as it goes by.
Right.
So that's the by website part. Okay, not only your contact information, but you can keep your credit card information as well. And when you start to fill out in Amazon, you start to fill out the credit card information, it goes, ooh, can I fill it in for you? And you can say yes. So let's go into settings and Safari and autofill, and your choice is use contact information. Your information is in your contact in that you put yourself in your phone. Who does not have their own address and phone in their phone? A lot of people don't. And that makes it difficult to do some things, like when you're in a funny part of LA and you want to figure out how to get home. So instead of saying, hey Siri, how do I get home? If you don't have your contact information in there, Siri has no idea where your home is. So you have to do it another way. It's always better to keep contact information in there on yourself. You can also share your information with certain people that you want to by sharing that contact. The other thing is you can put in credit cards, and if I tap on that, it wants me to do that, and that's all my credit cards, and that was all you're going to see. So that helps on buying things when you go. If you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it.
So do you have to have the colored dot where it says autofill?
Do you have to have the colored dots?
Yeah, these colored dots here. It doesn't have to be on. Yeah.
In order to fill you, it has to be on.
Okay. Well, why isn't mine on? Maybe my kids didn't set it up that way. I don't know.
Okay, we talked about keychain already. You have to go into settings, iCloud, and keychain and turn it on. Then when you have it on, when you go into a website, you put in a username and password, and it doesn't have it, it's going to say, can I have it? And then you say yes or no. So there are certain things that you may never want to put in, like let's say your bank.
Yeah.
But when you go to AAA, you may not care. So it's your choice of what you say yes and what you say no to. We went in there. If you tell your phone or your iPad to remember passwords, that can be very convenient. You can't tell you the number of times in our open lab someone has come in and say, I can't get into anything. I can't remember my passwords. And so you go into this passwords, accounts, and apps, and you have to have your password for your Apple ID. Once you've done that, or your device, once you've done that, you can search. And sure enough, there's the Cal State Fullerton, and that's the username and password. So it can be helpful if you forget passwords to have it done for you. I think we're done for today. Any questions before we go? Safari can be tough. I hope I didn't confuse people too much. That's why people come back another time and another time till they get it. So thank you very much.